So the trailer for Masters of the Universe Revelation Part 2 dropped yesterday, and I was just geeking out the entire time I was watching it. It is amazing. And so I just wanted to share some insights I have as a lifelong Masters of the Universe fan, just some things I noticed in there. And so, if you didn't watch it closely, this may contain some spoilers because we're going to talk about things it shows that are definitely going to happen in Part 2. And I'm also going to do a little bit of speculation, and who knows, I might be right. So just be warned, we may spoil some things for Part 2, but let's dive into that trailer. So we know from Kevin Smith's writer commentaries on his YouTube channel that Episode 5 ran too long in the scripting process, and so the originally scripted ending ended up getting chopped off of Episode 5 and is going to be the beginning of Episode 6, which is, of course, how Part 2 opens. And so we know it's going to take place immediately afterwards. Skelegod will be confronting the heroes, and so presumably from the trailer, they're going to be teleported to the Royal Palace where Teela's powers will kick in and heal Adam. And so then Skelegod pursues them, and we get that confrontation between Skelegod and Adam in the throne room. And Kevin Smith said that one of those things that got cut off at the end of Episode 5 because of time was this amazing scene that was done with Adam. And I think that was it, because if there's a better scene that's ever been done with that character, I can imagine what it would be. It was so well done, seeing Mark Hamill face off against Adam like that. Adam all of a sudden being like, oh, I can still transform, and turning into Savage He-Man. Just the most badass thing I have ever seen with that character. Savage He-Man will be in the first couple episodes. It looks like Kevin Smith said that we're going to see, first of all, we're going to see more of He-Man than we ever wanted, which is probably a reference to Savage He-Man, but also that Episode 7 was going to be one of the most brutal fights ever animated between He-Man and Skeletor, and that has got to be Savage He-Man versus Skeletor. But the trailer also shows us that He-Man will revert back to normal, and so we know that, Savage He-Man will be a part of it, but will not be the whole thing. And for those of you who haven't seen the bio that goes with the Savage He-Man figure, basically Savage He-Man is, in Revelation, what happens if Adam transforms without the sword to control the power. It's this overpowered, uncontrollable force, and presumably at some point they will find a way to fix him so he's back to normal He-Man, and can obviously go back to Adam, because we see some scenes later where he's clearly Adam afterwards. Another big thing in the trailer, Evil Lynn is the new sorceress. Now, this actually happened, or at least a version of this happened in the DC comics, and she became the sorceress of this bat creature named Horikoth, who is kind of a opposite aspect of Zor, the good goddess. Zor is a falcon that the sorceress turns into, but according to classics lore and the DC comics, it's also the name of a god or goddess. And Horikoth is kind of the evil counterpart. And so that'll be interesting. And so I had some speculation that Evil Lynn was going to be the villain at the end, like she was going to grab the power sword and take the power for herself at the end, similar to, what we saw with Nebula at the end of the Infinity Gauntlet miniseries in the comics. But now I'm sort of thinking, what if, because she's the sorceress, right, Skelegod would be her champion? Would that mean that Evil Lynn, as the sorceress, would have control over Skelegod? Maybe she can make him do whatever she wants to now. I think that would be interesting. I would love to see Evil Lynn, after all these years, finally succeed in overthrowing Skeletor or getting control over Skeletor. I mean, this woman has been trying for 40 years to do this. We ought to give her a win at some point. And another big thing we see is Man-at-Arms goes up against Skelegod and, of course, loses and gets captured. and it looks like he's being put into the dungeon of Grayskull, which is really cool because this dungeon is actually modeled after the one in the original playset, complete with a tentacle monster. So that's really cool. I really like the fact that for the first time in animation, both Snake Mountain and Grayskull are based on those original playsets. Very interesting, makes me wonder what else we'll see. And Teela becomes the sorceress, and after so many decades of waiting to see this in animation, the expectation of this is so high, but my God, they nailed it with that line from Man-at-Arms. It's just so emotional, both in delivery and writing, and just perfectly captures the moment. I choke up every time I hear it, and it's just such a great scene. It looks like she is actually going to be sneaking into Grayskull and diving into the pool of power. This is a Filmation reference from the origin of the sorceress. This was mentioned as where the sorceress gets her power. This is where her mother got her powers from, and so that is really cool. They decided to include that from the Filmation because obviously this is its own continuity, but that's a really nice nod to that episode. And I hope her mom's still alive, but keep in mind that normally in the comics, when Teela becomes a sorceress, her mama's dead. So just keep that in mind. And it is so perfect that she becomes a sorceress to fight Evil Lyn. These two have always been rivals. If you look at their toys, Teela is described as the heroic warrior goddess. Evil Lyn is described as the evil warrior goddess. It is great to see both of these characters actually get to live up to those names and go at it on equal footing for the first time in animation ever. And I'm so looking forward to that. And speaking of first time in animation, let's look at that lineup of villains that Evil Lyn is talking to in Grayskull, which, by the way, it's cool that the villains now own Grayskull, right? That they've taken the castle. But we've got our usual suspects, right? We've got Beastman, Clawful, Spikehor, Webstore. But look at those two dudes in the back, man. The guy in red, that's Goatman. That is a character who is from the Golden Books. He was in the book The Secret of the Dragon's Egg, and he actually got a Classics figure a few years ago in the Masters Universe Classics line. But who's that guy in the blue? That little guy looks like a pig in the blue. It is none other than Pig Boy from the Masters of the Universe movie. This was a kid who won this contest to be in the movie, and at that point they really didn't have a great place to put him, so they just stuck him in this costume and had him hand Skeletor his Havoc staff in one scene. And that is Pig Boy. Never appeared in animation, never had a figure. Just this really super obscure, deep cut sort of character. I love it to death that they're putting stuff like that in there. Speaking of characters we're going to get in part 2, we see Buzz-Off and Stratos with their people in the final battle, which looks awesome. We got Ram Man in there, which is fantastic. Always loved seeing Rammy. He was a major character in Filmation. And we get Randor in full battle armor leading those royal guards who are so close to that classic Filmation look. It's the coolest damn thing I've ever seen. And he gets to fight Scareglow, who is back with his Shadow Beast. It'll be really interesting to see the interaction between Scareglow and Skeletor, and if there is any kind of relationship between the two. And we see a scene where a Talon fighter comes in and saves Randor. And who's piloting that? None other than Queen Marlena in her astronaut outfit. This is very close to her Classics astronaut outfit. And it's just sheer genius to have her because she is a pilot, right? She actually crash landed in a spaceship on the Eternia. She's originally from Earth. And so it's just a stroke of genius to have her pilot the Talon fighter in the final battle. I love this stuff. And that ending with Orko coming back. Now, we don't see him, but we hear him. And so here's my speculation. First of all, his death against Scareglow was a very obvious reference to Lord of the Rings. Balrog and Gandalf fighting each other, and Gandalf seeming to die, and of course he comes back in a higher form called, I think it was Gandalf the White, right? He came back more powerful. I think the same thing is going to happen to Orko. And so this is a different Orko from Filmation, and he was like this failure that was looked down upon in Tralla. So he was never Orko the Great in Tralla like he was in Filmation. I think he's going to come back and he's going to be Orko the Great. He's going to be this super powered Orko, and he's going to save the day. And let me go even further. Let me go out on a limb here. I had speculation in one of my previous videos that we were going to see all the champions walk through that door in Grayskull to come back to life and join the final battle. And I think that line that Orko is saying, oh, you guys are in trouble now, I think that's a reference to that. I think Orko is going to lead the champions out onto the battlefield for the final battle. That's just speculation, but I think that would be really cool. And we also know Roboto may come back, and my speculation was, well, maybe Man-at-Arms just rebuilds him. But how cool would it be? Because, you know, Roboto, I mean, he was really close to a real boy, right? Like, he really found that his humanity there at the end. So what if Roboto did have a soul? What if Roboto comes out with the rest of the champions because his soul now presided in Preternia? I think that would be really cool. But regardless, I am so looking forward to that final battle. And the whole part 2, it just looks amazing. So one thing that wasn't shown in the trailer was what will the relationship be between Teela and Adam. And, you know, judging from the way they've been portrayed so far, I mean, for God's sakes, Adam came back from the dead just to be with Teela. I think they will actually confess their affections to each other in animation for the first time, and we will actually see them probably kiss, and who knows, maybe more than that, right? We definitely got a hint in the Revelation comic that He-Man would name his son Dare. And if you know about the Classics line, and if you know about the old Son of He-Man pitch, you know He-Man's son in the future when he's king is named Dare, and that would be Hero, son of He-Man. And that would be really cool to see that in animation, maybe as a flash forward or a premonition or something like that. I don't know if that'll actually happen, but just seeing, you know, He-Man and Teela together for the first time would be a pretty amazing thing to see. And that's it for the trailer, but I just want to talk to the viewers of Revelation and the Masters of the Universe fans. Guys, don't be scared to go online and comment and say that you liked it or you like part of it, and just give your real honest opinion on it. I know I was scared too during part 1, right? You would look at the videos, you would look at the posts, and you would just see these walls of hate, right? But I gotta tell you guys, I left comments, I left a review on Rotten Tomatoes giving my honest opinion amidst that giant review bomb that was clearly orchestrated. I haven't had any consequences. I left comments on each episode commentary that Kevin Smith posted. And this was even after the trolls had found it and had done that orchestrated comment bomb where they were just flooding it with all kinds of hate and bile towards the series and towards Kevin Smith. I didn't get a single downvote on my comments that were positive. I did not have anybody track me back to my channel and try to shut me down or anything. Those guys aren't doing that. Those trolls, again, this is clearly an orchestrated movement. Those trolls are not reading comments. They're not watching the video. They are just going there. They are spewing their excrement and then they're leaving. So don't worry. You can talk openly and honestly about this without any consequences. My Revelation videos on my channel are some of my most liked videos ever. Do not be scared. If you do not speak up, other people will speak for you. And I'm not saying that there weren't real fans and real viewers that didn't like it. There certainly were, but there were a whole lot of people that you could tell probably did not watch it and probably didn't know anything about Masters of the Universe. And these guys are the same folks who were trying to do this with She-Ra and have tried to do this time and time again with various movies and comics and creators. And so I really recommend, going to Rotten Tomatoes, leaving an honest review, like it or hate it, right? So we can get actual fan voices in there, leaving comments on posts and videos about it, sharing posts and videos about it, letting people know what your honest opinion as a viewer and a fan are of Revelation. And if you don't do all that, that's fine, because the thing that Netflix is looking at is not the review bombs, it's not the comments, it is who watches this show. They had a tremendous success with part 1. If we get that many viewers again, we're getting a season 2, according to Kevin Smith. So please, if you have any love for Revelation at all, if you want to see more of this, please go watch part 2 when it comes out, because this, in my opinion, is the best this franchise is ever going to be. We're never going to get this amount of talent in one place at one time for Masters of the Universe. I would so love to see season 2, and I would absolutely be there for it. So anyway, like and subscribe for more videos, and until next time, good journey.